지금 나스닥 선물 지수가 엄청나게 급락을 하고 있습니다. 기재부에서는 미국 증시가 큰 폭으로 하락할 것이다. 24시간 모니터링. 지금 경고의 메시지가 날라오는 것 같네요. 그렇기 때문에 코스피 역시나 엄청난 하락세를 보여주고 있고 일본 증시 역시나 급락세를 보여주고 있습니다. 그러면서 많은 투자자분들은 가지고 있는 주식을 팔고 인버스 ETF로 향하고 있습니다. 특히나 레버리지 ETF를 많이 선호하실 것 같은데요. 거기에다가 비트코인까지 덩달아서 떨어지고 있네요. 경기 침체에다가 AI 버블도 터질 것이다. 이제 모든 것이 안 좋아질 것이다. 거기에다가 전쟁 이슈도 있습니다. 이란과 이스라엘 한바탕 전쟁을 치를 것이고 우크라이나 러시아 전쟁도 끝이 난 것이 아닙니다. 그렇다면 이런 상황 속에서 개인 투자자분들은 어떻게 대응하는 것이 좋을까요? 대부분의 사람들처럼 다 팔고 인버스 ETF를 잡는 것이 과연 정답일까요? 저는 절대로 그렇게 보지 않습니다. 사실 그동안에 가까운 2, 3년 전만 보더라도 팬데믹 때 모든 것이 망한다라고 하였지만 그때 사셨던 분들은 큰 돈을 버셨던 것이 사실이 아닙니까? 그렇다면 미국 주식 투자자분들에게 가장 중요한 AI 버블에 대해서 조금 말씀을 드려보고 싶네요. 지금 AI 버블을 주도했던 기업은 바로 엔비디아입니다. 엔비디아를 따라서 수많은 AI 기업들, 빅테크 기업들이 나스닥을 끌어올렸고 나스닥은 굉장히 많이 올랐죠. 그리고 엔비디아의 2분기 어닝 발표가 8월 28일에 있습니다. 꽤나 늦은 날짜에 발표를 하는데요. 만약 이때 어닝이 밀리지 않는다라면 AI 버블은 버블이 아닌 것입니다. 진짜 AI 시대가 온다라는 것입니다. 사실 미리 2분기 어닝을 발표한 AMD를 보더라도 데이터 센터 매출이 무려 2배나 올라가는 모습을 보여줬습니다. 그렇기 때문에 미국 주식에 투자하는 사람들 입장에서는 엔비디아가 8월 28일에 어닝 비트를 보여준다라면 다시 한 번 더 반전을 보여줄 수가 있다. AI가 버블이 아닌 것을 증명을 할 수가 있다. 하지만 8월 28일에 어닝 미스가 나더라도 주가가 하락한다라면 이것은 정말로 바이 더 딥, 대찬스라고 보여집니다. 결국 엔비디아의 매출과 EPS가 올라가는 것은 데이터 센터, AI 반도체, 여기가 얼마나 팔렸는지 AI 기업들이 계속해서 엔비디아의 칩을 끊임없이 사고 있는지 여기에 달려 있습니다. 물론 전쟁 이슈, 경기 침체 이슈도 중요하지만 투자자분들이 조금 더 중요하게 볼 것은 펀더멘탈이 될 것입니다. 엔비디아의 펀더멘탈이 밀리지 않는다라면 미국 주식은 언제나 그랬듯 우상향으로 빠르게 돌입을 할 거라고 보여집니다. 그렇다면 엔비디아의 AI 버블이 왜 가짜가 아니라 찐인지 그것에 대해서 지금부터 영상으로 살펴보도록 하겠습니다.
We built this concept to call an AI factory, AI foundry around it, so that we can help everybody build. A lot of people they have a desire to build AI, and it's very important for them to own the AI because once they put that into their flywheel, their data flywheel, that's how their company's institutional knowledge is encoded and embedded into an AI. So they can't afford to have the AI flywheel, the data flywheel, that experience flywheel somewhere else. So open source allows them to do that, but they don't really know how to turn this whole thing into an AI. And so we created this thing called an AI Foundry. We provide the tooling, we provide the expertise, Llama technology. We have the ability to help them turn this whole thing into an AI service. And then when we're done with that, they take it, they own it. The output of it's what we call a NIM, and this NIM, this Neuro Micro Nvidia Inference Microservice. They just download it, they take it, and they run it anywhere they like, including on-prem. And we have a whole ecosystem of partners, from OEMs that can run the NIMs to GSIs like Accenture that we've trained and worked with to create Llama-based NIMs and pipelines. And now we're off helping enterprises all over the world do this. I mean, it's really quite an exciting thing. It's really all triggered off of the Llama open sourcing, the Ray-Ban Meta Glass. So you guys know when Zuck calls it H100, his data center of H100s, there's like, I think you're coming up on 600,000, and
we're good customers.
Demand has never been higher for these racks and racks of powerful servers feeding the internet's insatiable appetite for computing in the cloud.
The reality is that the cloud is not up there somewhere. It's right here. We are in it. You're in the middle of the cloud as we speak.
And data centers like this can't ever stop. Streaming, social media, photo storage, and more recently, and requiring much more data, training and running chatbots like OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, and Microsoft's Copilot.
And you can feel the heat coming off of these.
Thanks to the generative AI race, data centers like this are springing up as quickly as companies like Vantage can build them. And that means demand for power to run them and cool them is through the roof too.
If we don't start thinking about this power problem differently now, we're never going to see this dream we have or the potential we have of this amazing technology that can truly change our lives.
There are more than 8,000 data centers globally, with the highest concentration in the US, but it's not enough.
But we suspect that the amount of demand that we'll see from AI-specific applications will be as much or more than we've seen historically from cloud computing.
The AI frenzy has data center demand rising 15 to 20% every year through 2030.
The world has gone crazy for Nvidia.
All eyes on Nvidia.
Nvidia.
Or at least Wall Street has.
Have you heard of Nvidia?
No.
Nvidia? Not familiar.
I think they're a chip manufacturer, right? Something to do with technology.
Something to do with technology that has almost single-handedly lifted the entire market due to its monster valuation and latest monster quarter.
Nvidia basically is its own index right now. If you are actively trading in the market, you're trading Nvidia every day.
The best performer in the NASDAQ this quarter, surpassing $3 trillion in market cap and briefly snatching the crown from Microsoft and Apple as the most valuable company in the world. I'm Deirdre Bosa, and this week on Tech Check, Nvidia, the stock everyone owns but no one knows, is.
So what exactly is Nvidia?
What is Nvidia?
Es culito. Here's CEO Jensen Huang.
We are a technology company that processes software for applications and domains of science that are barely possible without us.
And for some, echoes of Cisco in the dot-com boom and bust. The last time a tech company without mass brand recognition became the most valuable company in the world. Cisco rode the wave of the internet revolution. Its products, like Nvidia's, were the backbone of the industry. Its shares also overtook Microsoft, and there were increasing warnings of a bubble. Not unlike Nvidia and today's AI revolution.
Some say that this extreme concentration is indicative of a bubble.
Are these signs of froth?
It didn't end well for Cisco. When the bubble did burst, shares crashed, and today, more than 20 years later, Cisco's stock price is still 40% below those split-adjusted highs. But part of a Nvidia education includes knowing some of the key differences. One, valuation. Nvidia's price-to-earnings multiple is nowhere near Cisco's at its peak. It's a key metric that helps investors determine if a stock is overvalued, undervalued, or fairly valued. Cisco was a lot frothier back then than Nvidia is now.
This is not Cisco in the dot-com era. Back then, Cisco's go-forward PE multiple got to a peak of something like 136x.
As the journal highlights, Nvidia's trailing 12-month revenue at the end of its last quarter more than tripled year over year, and its operating margin has more than doubled in that time.
Unlike the 90s when you had all these ancillary companies that were trading on eyeballs and zero revenues and et cetera, you don't have that today. These companies are extremely profitable. Their revenue is up 100%, their EPS is 100%. I mean, they're outpacing the street by exponentially larger numbers. It's just impossible to keep up with what they're doing right now.
And finally, Nvidia might be more accurately called an ecosystem or an AI platform than a chip maker. It has an interconnected set of hardware, software, and services that support AI applications.
Nvidia's rise was super quick.
Record highs, record closes for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ as Nvidia hits a record of its own.
Another day, another record for Nvidia.
If you look at when ChatGPT was first announced, that was the fall of 2022. So it's a really, really fast rise in a very short amount of time.
Apple took 1,793 days, or less than 5 years, to go from a $1 trillion company to a $3 trillion company. Nvidia says, hold my beer. They did the same thing, 1 to 3 trillion, in less than a year.
When ChatGPT came out, Nvidia was worth less than $1 trillion. Then 6 months, 7 months after ChatGPT, in May of 2023, it hit $1 trillion. And at the time, people were starting to realize that if AI was a gold rush, Nvidia was the one making the shovels. The Nvidia craze just never stopped. It hit $2 trillion in February of this year.
It's been an absolute incredible run, but it has been absolutely backstopped by the fundamentals.
6-8 months later, its value has already doubled. And then from $2 trillion, it only took just over 3 months for it to hit $3 trillion. To keep everything in perspective, Nvidia's sales, even though they've tripled in the last year, are still far, far short of Microsoft's annual sales and Apple's annual sales. And they have really nice, durable margins too. It's hard to see Nvidia replacing Apple or Microsoft in the technology ecosystem, but could it take the crown of most valuable US company? Yeah, I think that's possible.
So the thing is, when you want to build something great, it's not easy to do. And when you're doing something that's not easy to do, you're not always enjoying it. I don't love every day of my job. I don't think every day brings me joy, nor does joy have to be the definition of a good day. And every day I'm not happy. Every year I'm not happy about the company. But I love the company every single second. And so I think that what people misunderstand is somehow the best jobs are the one that brings you happiness all the time. I don't think that that's right. You have to suffer. You have to struggle. You have to endeavor. You have to do those hard things and work through it in order to really appreciate what you've done. And there are no such thing that are great that was easy to do. And so by definition, I would say, therefore, I wish upon you greatness, which by my way of saying it, I wish upon you plenty of pain and suffering. And so